Okay, it is 1:30, so the recording has started. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. First, Dr. Keys will, I believe, take roll call, and civility clause and public comment will begin.
Roll call. You need to call me. Oh, I thought she called me. No, you're the chair. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right, calling the meeting to order at 1:30 p.m. We have a quorum of 4 out of 4 of us. Roll call. Susan Sheldrow. Here. Nick Janahakis.
Here.
Christine Newman.
Here.
And I'm here, Leslie Keys. Civility clause. Oh,
Your name?
oh, sorry. So there's nothing. It's been an interesting day.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. I have a public comment clause. Is that the same as the civility clause these days? Okay. That is not it. That's come from somebody else. Okay. Cultural Resource Review Board serves as an advisory board which makes recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. This is a properly noted public meeting held in accordance with requirements of Florida law. Members of the public will be given reasonable opportunity to be heard on propositions before the board as those items are addressed on the agenda. For public comments on matters not being considered by the board today, a general public comment period will be provided to address the board on matters within its jurisdiction. Each person addressing the board shall limit comments to 3 minutes. Person shall not address the board or any member thereof unless specifically recognized by the chairperson to do so. Once recognized, members of the public shall address their comments to the board as a whole. Public comment is intended for the board to hear from the public and shall not be considered an opportunity to demand immediate responses from the board or its members. Board members shall not engage in dialogue with persons making public comment unless the question or comment is directed through the chair or made with permission of the chair. For those matters requiring a public hearing, speakers may offer sworn testimony. If they do not, the board may consider the fact that testimony is unsworn in determining the weight or truthfulness of the testimony. Any physical or documentary evidence presented during the public hearing, such as drawings, photographs, or written statements, will be retained by the staff as part of the record. Board members are reminded at the beginning of each item requiring a public hearing, they should state whether they had any communication with any person regarding the substance of the item outside the formal hearing of the board. If such a communication occurred, the board member shall then identify the persons involved in the material content of the communication. Okay, general public comment. We have 3 minutes per speaker. Speaker in no particular order with the exception of the first one's general public comment. Keith Willard.
Okay, I'm Keith Willard. I live at 66 Farrell Road, Delano Beach, Florida, 32084. Okay, my public comment is, since the county, St. Johns County, on August the 7th, issued a demolition permit for the Magic Beach, we will have to file a lawsuit against the county for issuing a demolition permit illegally.
You have a question through the chair?
Okay. Is that all right?
Who is the "we"? Which, are you affiliated with the North Beach group or the Volano?
Florida Downtown Association.
Okay, thank you.
Next public comment, Sally O'Hara.
On 8/6, the demolition permit was issued for Magic Beach. I would like to ask the county administrator to stay the demolition activity on this until we have a legitimate site plan or replacement opportunity for the community to review the input information. As I understand it, the CRMP had 0 impact for the 414 hearing and the 630 hearing. So the activity of this board was kind of ridiculous as far as reviewing information. If the state law took precedence, why in fact did the county administration and the legal office not so advise the citizenry in the area of the futility of this activity. I would like to impress that citizen input in the CRA is mandatory. Magic Beach is in the CRA parameters, and it is lacking as far as the plans for replacement with this property. We have Breakwater Villas that's been derelict for 5 years, vacant and absent. If we demolish Magic Beach, it again will be a property that would be a blight along the beach. I submitted in May 22, 2025, a request to have elements addressed by this board, which include, number one, the assessment of Magic Beach, number two, the National Historic District nomination of Long Beach Main Street, protection from demolition by neglect, stronger demolition penalties, and grant resolution. This information has not been discussed and inserted on the agenda or even addressed. I don't know who is responsible for staff operations for this board, but it seems to me the public has a right to have discussion on certain things in a workshop forum on a variety of issues. And this includes protecting historic properties, which I know state law preempts a lot of what we're doing, but we need to have discussion about these protections at a local land development situation. Thank you.
Ed Slavin.
Ed Slavin, edslavin.com, box 3084. Calling your attention to the press release that the county issued. Who authorized it? Who wrote it? Why is it unsigned? Why is it unadorned by the name of an author or a lawyer? Does this curious document read to you like a Russian czar's case? Who's in charge here? No case law was cited. No state attorney general opinion was cited. No legislative history was cited. No legal analysis. No proof of danger. No proof of non-conforming structure. Wonder why? This press release stinks. It stinks on ice, as my mother would say. It reeks to high heaven, my friends. It needs to be revoked, rescinded, and it's null and void. Calling your attention to the case decided by the United States Supreme Court in Holy Trinity Church versus United States, 143 U.S. 457 in 1892. Quote, "It is a familiar rule that a thing may be within the letter of the statute and yet not within the statute because not within its spirit, nor within the intention of its makers. The landmark Holy Trinity Church case involving the federal government's attempted overreach under the February 26, 1886 Alien Contract Labor Law to prosecute an Anglican minister. That government overreach was reversed. The result was a landmark Supreme Court decision requiring rational interpretation of statutes and defending religious freedom. In the Magic Beach case, there's no assertion that our Florida House and Senate ever wanted to wipe out historic structures like the legally protected Magic Beach Motel. As FBI Director Mark Felt, played by Hal Holbrook, told Bob Woodward, played by Robert Redford in the Watergate movie, All President's Men, I hate shallowness. Enough flummery, dupery, and nincompoopers from one-party rulers in St. Johns County. Let's save the Magic Beach Motel, my friends. A speculator lawyer spoke to our St. Johns County Commission on August 4th, 2025, which seems to have resulted in a one-sided developer press release on August 5th, 2025. Who wrote that press release? Why isn't there a name attached? I've never seen such gooberishness. The county issued a press release saying it's going to be demolished. That dog won't hunt. It is wrong, it is immoral, it is illegal, and you're going to be sued. I would advise the assistant county attorney to advise the county attorney to drop the oyster and leave the wharf. That's my grandmother would say. This is so wrong. People came out, 54 people were in this room to speak in defense of the Magic Beach Motel. People came and spoke passionately in the county auditorium when this board met for the first time in that.
15 seconds.
We need to have these meetings in the county auditorium, every single one, from now on, from this day forward. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Sasha Martin.
Sasha Martin, 133 Coastal Hall Circle. I'm asking you for your help regarding the demolition permit. It's evident now that the CRRB has been documented as overruled by state legislation and that a demolition for Magic Beach has evidently been granted. Even the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation, designating Magic Beach as one of the historic properties to save in the state of Florida, issued a news release that said, Magic Beach will soon fall victim to the Resilient Structures Act, which allows demolition of significant historic buildings. The county had already issued a press release. In our community, please ask for the help of the CRRB, Growth Management Department, County Attorney's Office, or a so-called emergency directive from the county administrator for the permit from the Building Services Department to be, in this case, revoked until approval for a replacement building that meets zoning and design requirements is actually received, and at the same time requires a date when the new construction will actually begin. We don't need another vacant lot with bad vibes for the community right next to the beach, maybe even for years. Who knows what might occur when? In the Volano Town Center, there's already an example where Breakwater Villas development has been vacant in limbo for going on 6 years after approval was given to construct the first two buildings in October of 2019. A delay for execution of demolition permit allows time for the new owner developers to design a remarkable, unique, modern Art Deco building reflecting the iconic history of the Magic Beach. An example is the already approved design by the North Coastal Design Review Board for the proposed Art Deco Snappers Restaurant in the town center to reflect its history from the same era as Magic Beach. It will also allow time for Columbia to show us attractive buildings they will be erecting on its current property. Architecture was approved for them in October 2023, but only broke vertical ground 18 months later in April 2025. The motel is still a viable business. It's a safe, sturdy, and is in flood zone X. Ambrose Productions made a deposit for 12 rooms for 15 days in September for Hollywood producers. Their usual action is a place to stay for producers looking for filming possibilities. Please help arrange for a delay of demolition permit until a new solution is guaranteed. And I just want to comment that the permit application was not in the name of the owner, but in the name of the contractor for the prospective owner and for a townhome and not the Magic Beach Motel. That was the original application. Thank you.
I did not fill out a speaker card, but I'm going to do less than 3 minutes of public speaking, I promise. And just as per last year, this year, there will be a statewide notice of a day of service encouraging everyone on Friday, August 29th to support Jimmy Buffett Day, which rolls into Labor Day weekend. But honestly, Flagler Beach is doing 2 huge days of beach cleanup. So just letting everybody know that's statewide, but certainly coastal on this side. And the Board of County Commissioners on September 2nd at the meeting, first thing that morning, there will be a recognition of Gordy Wilson, Superintendent of the Casino de San Marcos and Port Matanzas, retirement after about 33 years, almost 50 years with the National Park Service. So I'd like to invite everybody, and please tell everyone to come and we'll stand and cheer for Gordy's retirement.
Where is that?
It'll be at the Board of County Commissioners meeting in the auditorium.
Oh,
So it's at the beginning of the recognitions. It's a retirement certificate sponsored by the chair and vice chair.
Dr. Keys?
Yes.
Is there a website for the day of service? Can you send me information on that and we can see what we can do about getting it through
Yes.
ours or through
I took
public
a
affairs?
screenshot, but yeah,
Can you send it to me?
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
it's a rolling day because it's the Friday before So the last thing that you might pull up these days is August 30th, so, yeah, it's August 29th.
Thank you.
So, anyway. Okay, I think we are ready to address the minutes and we need two separate motions. Motion to consider approval for the April 14th, 2025 minutes.
I so move. You're asking for the motion.
Yes, please.
I move.
Sheldon moves, we have a second.
I'll second.
Chris Moon, second. 14. All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Okay. We're consider-
You want me to make a motion for it?
we're going to consider the approval of the June 30th minutes. Do we have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion on that.
I am going to second them with a question. I'm sorry?
You said you're a second with the questions.
Yes.
This question is for me.
Okay. Hi, thank you. I had, this is, I guess everybody realizes, it's the third iteration of the minutes. And I have, as Sally Harroway noted during her 3 minutes, but we have in writing from her last presentation on June 30th, she is requesting that the board advance the nomination of Delano Beach Historic District as a National Register Historic District. That was in her written remarks, and therefore it should be reflected in the minutes.
So are you amending the minutes?
Yes, so I'm
So
suggesting.
you have a motion and a
that we
second on
insert-
the table with an
So
amendment. Wait a second. Excuse me. So you have a motion and a second on the table. Now you're into an amendment. So it's Dr. Key's motion to amend. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, so we'll vote on the amendment.
Call the question, do we have a discussion on the amendment? Call the question. All in favor of the amendment to add National Register, say aye. Aye.
Now you vote on your main motion as amended. Thank
All
you.
right, so the motion is to approve the June 30th minutes with on page 1 at the bottom where it says recommended the board advance the nomination of the Delano Beach Council as the Delano Beach, as the Delano National Register Historic District. Any discussion on that motion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
All right, unanimous. Hasn't it? Okay. Now we are going to approve the current agenda. And I would like to amend that. Do we want a motion to approve it first or approve it as amended first?
You'd have to do your amendment first, so you.
Okay. Then I would add number 3, which is discussion of the Delano Beach listing, the National Register of Historic Places, because that was made as a direct request at the last meeting.
So through the chair, if I could. So just because we get requests from public comment, it's your agenda, so if it needs to be added, you would be the one to add it, not staff.
Okay,
So
yeah.
there you go.
That would become item 3.
Okay.
Item 4 would be to add resubmission of the state small matching grants to address the town of Hastings records and the survey of A1A North and South, which was also requested formally to the public on June 30th. Also would like to have discussion on the request made in an email to pursue local landmark designation for 825 South Orange Street in the Collier Heights neighborhood near West Kings and Holmes Boulevard for its association with Carrie White, first black deaf graduate of Forest School for the Deaf and Blind, athlete who was inducted into the FSDB.
Can you please give that address again?
825 South Orange Street.
Thank you.
The house was built in 1956. And there was also a request made via email to address the historical significance of the Hughes Cemetery, which is Florida Master Site File SJ04907. And that, I'm sure, came out of the request to put a 150-foot cell tower on top of part of the cemetery in Fort Pete. Just include it. So, I'm sorry, but that's
Mr. Chair,
That's-
number 7 would be St. John's County Jail.
St. John's County Jail is number 1.
What was number 4?
Okay, so I make that as a motion. If everybody's comfortable with that, need a second.
Second.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question? Number 6 is address the significance of, I lost track of that one.
Is used cemetery.
It's
Oh, the Hughes. Oh, I got it, yeah.
Hughes Cemetery,
The master site plan, so I got you.
yes. Last time I checked, Greg desecration was still federal. All right, we have a second by Chris Newman. Any questions on the motion?
Yes. Well, never mind, not on the motion.
Okay, all in favor of the new agenda? Say aye. Aye. Okay.
No, approve, not approve.
Then we are ready to discuss the former detention center at 4025 Speedway. Proposal,
So, Chair, if I could just make a comment. So you've amended your motion and that's fine. So just to clarify, when we receive general public comment, when things come up, staff doesn't know to put them on the agenda unless we get direction from either the chair or the board to add them to the agenda. The only issue with doing it this way is that we publish our agendas. And so those of interest to these other topics aren't aware they're going to be on this agenda. You can certainly talk about them, staff's not prepared, but the recommendation is always have your discussion, but you might want to bring them back on a formally noticed public agenda to get get public input as well.
and just for the record, I did request all of these to the staff in writing via email to be added to the agenda.
This agenda?
Correct.
Okay. So, but they're
That's why
not,
I'm happy to do it this way.
well, but when the draft agenda came out, they were not on there.
So it was,
If you, just forward me the email and we'll,
okay,
probably because your request came after the agenda publication date cutoff. And so we can just work on that timing. But just so you know, these will have to come back. If there's any action taken, they'll have to come back on a regular published agenda.
and hopefully, I do try to respond as quickly as I
Well-
get the draft agenda, just so you know.
The best course of action is if it's mentioned in public comment and something you want to hear on the agenda, that would be the time to confer with the board and have the board say they want it on an agenda.
So we'll do it proactively here so it gets reflected in the minutes today.
Well, no, I'm
If
just saying,
something else would have come.
Right.
Yes.
right, because you can add things, but ideally, some of this stuff needs to be by consensus of the board.
All right, former detention center. A little bit of information on this is we had a request for it to be considered county landmark. As I'm hoping everybody on board remembers, back in March, separately, both Susan Shelderup and I each took a tour of the facility. This is when there was a question it might not stand. And fortunately, Dan Whitcraft, who's our facilities director, is here and took each of us on that tour. A lot has fortunately happened since, and there is a budget that was approved effective July 1st with money in it to rehabilitate the building. And
Madam Chair,
I'm say, are you comfortable?
actually, the budget is in the recommended 26.
Yeah, we don't have a July
Sorry.
budget. Our fiscal year is October 1.
Not state.
October 1.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yes,
So
I'm looking at the
it
schedule.
is
I think
proposed.
it's exactly right. Okay, proposed budget to take effect October 1st. But it will rehabilitate the building for office space because Ken realized they needed a lot more of that. So what, and again, Dan's here to answer a question. I am going to suggest that for the best use of the time and the recommendation on the county landmark, that we work with the county to let them go ahead and do the rehabilitation of the building I went to the Historical Society Research Library last week, got the highest resolution images of the original facade of the building so that they can use that to provide to their project director, their architect, whoever they have designing this, so that we can make every effort to return that front facade to more of its historical 1951 look, and that there will be additional recognitions of the civil rights era to come forward. And then I would propose we have it as a business item to not only have this go for county landmark, but to also simultaneously run it through as a National Register of Historic Places nomination at the same time and include it for civil rights significance. But therefore that we would defer making a decision on the landmark information, which is incomplete. Good effort, but not everything we would need to go forward anyway. So that's my 2 cents worth. And you.
Just as you mentioned, I'm here to hopefully answer any questions you may have in regards to the renovation project.
I had done the civil rights nominations for National Register before. That's how I ended up. I just volunteered to help them do some of that because I did that St. Augustine Beach Hotel. So,
And the discussion phase?
as far as I'm concerned, sure.
Okay. So the National Register nomination obviously is a lot more difficult than the landmark. And would there be any funding provided for that, or are you just donating the time?
I'm not volunteering to do either one of them.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually suggesting that the staff do that. That Megan needs her first shot at the National Register nomination. It's not that tough. It's something you do in college, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm suggesting it makes, if you can do the research to do the local landmark designation, it makes sense to do both of them. And there's a lot of information already out there. Any other questions? Yeah, unless the cell phone's good. Any comments from anybody else on board? Public comment?
Do we need to vote on that?
Well, we have, a speaker regarding the dispatch. Okay, so if you want to see comments?
So through the chair, I'm not sure what the action is. You're deferring.
Yes,
So the motion is, you're going to have a motion to defer?
that's what I'm suggesting that we do so that we work in
Well,
tandem.
just so the public comment knows what they're commenting on.
Okay. So there's been a comment on the motion to defer, but with the understanding that county landmark designation and National Register listing would be the goal. Okay, public comment. Yeah, we have Ed Slater first, sorry.
You first. Okay.
Okay, I think this is a good move. From what I understand from all my discussions with historic preservation Tallahassee over the last week or so, the current law precludes us saving historic structures unless they are so designated. So this is significant that we can get as many properties designated as we can.
Okay, just for the record, the Resiliency and Safe Structures Act, as it stands right now, unless I am misremembering it, requires buildings to be on the National Register by 2000,
Correct.
25 years ago.
That is correct.
So this would not really,
This is a
in its
step.
present iteration, this would not assist.
Right, this is a step in future direction, protections of properties.
Correct.
Because there is an undercurrent of movement to contest and challenge current law. So this is a good move in that direction.
Did you hear that?
All right, Mr. Slavin.
Thank you. Florida Governor Rubin Askin once told a smart young lawyer, Henry King, our former county commissioner, if you have to vote, sit down and shut up. I'm fixing to, but I speak in strong support of the recommendation by Mr. Fred Alexander Passman to designate our 1953 jail as a county landmark. I spoke with Sheriff Robert Hardwick about the need for a CRB review last year when there was an item on the county budget for money to demolish the old jail. We had a private discussion. And he was cool with having a landmark designation. Unfortunately, our county administrator put it down for a demolition. We stopped it. We, the people, stopped another building from being demolished. It was a sin of crime enough for it. And I've never heard an explanation from the county administrator as to what possessed her to do that. Archimedes once said, "Give me a place to stand and I will move the world." Please landmark this holy place. These former prisoners, 1,000 of them, were illegally arrested and incarcerated there. Their cases were all dismissed by the late United States District Court Judge Brian J. Simpson using federal court removal jurisdiction invoked by civil rights lawyers, including William Kunstler. Few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. It is from numberless, diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time a person stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of resistance and oppression. That's what Senator Robert Francis Kennedy said to South Africans in 1967. I remember reading and writing about South African apartheid and Jim Crow segregation. I was a 17-and-a-half-year-old Georgetown freshman when the South African charge d'affaires was a guest on our campus Foreign Service scheme. I advised him to end apartheid. Some of my friends said, "How can you say that?" I replied, "I just did." Please move forward as swiftly and as intelligently as I know y'all will do to designate as both a national and a local landmark. And I fully support the sheriff's plan to save this building. And he's going to have his office. The sheriff's actual office is going to be on the top floor. They're doing the right thing, and we appreciate it. We'll see you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Do I have time left?
No.
10 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
I would accept a motion to defer this until a future date that coordinates with the county's rehabilitation of the building, and at that time to address landmark and second to the motion.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion, board?
Do we know what the timetable looks like?
When, 2026, probably late 2026. Since we have 2 hurricane seasons.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you
I
vote?
was gonna ask a question
Oh.
about that. So that means that even that Megan should not get started on this, or she should?
I'm not sure if we're allowed to give Megan direction. I would think she should start this afternoon, of course. You're not,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Well, she would not for her to take action, but you haven't made a decision yet. So she'll work on the deferral.
We're going to process, not the substance.
Through the chair, there was a statement made by the chair as well as Ms. O'Hara regarding the Resiliency and Safe Structure Act. The comment by the chair is that it had to be listed prior to 2000 is correct, but the actual trigger is that the structure must be either partially or fully seaward of the coastal construction line. So this building would not fall under the act. Excuse me?
There are a bunch of them that do in our county.
I'm sorry, I was only speaking to this
Sorry.
structure, so there wasn't confusion as to whether or not the act applied.
Well, and yes, in the present iteration. Okay, so do we have unanimous vote? Okay, all right. Okay, with a note that Megan will work on it further. Okay. That's action item is review applicants and votes for the vacancies, and everyone got the list. And I have, I'm thrilled that we have 2 people that actually have qualifications out of the total that meet part of our bylaws, which note that purpose of the Cultural Resource Review Board is to advise the Board of County Commissioners regarding cultural, architectural, archaeological, and historical resources in St. Johns County to identify, document, designate these resources. Talks about membership, and all members of St. Johns County residents are qualified for the demonstration of special interest, experience, or education in the preservation of cultural resources. When possible, have practical and professional experience in one or more of the following fields. The first 2 are archaeology and architecture, then architectural history, creation, conservation, and half a dozen more. We have an application by Paul LeBlanc, who is a volunteer archaeologist at the City of St. Augustine Archaeology Program, and had a recommendation from one of the city staff in that program. That application was received, July 9th, 2025. And then we have Walter O'Con, who previously served on this board and I believe was the chair 10 years ago. And his application was received on May 20th, 25 in architect. And he also submitted a resume that Megan forwarded to all of us later. So I would love to have a motion to accept those 2 to fill the 2 vacancies.
Question
Yes, ma'am.
for the chair. I did speak to both these individuals as a phone interview. And Mr. O'Con said that he was going to be moving to Oregon. And he's just waiting for his house to sell. So it could take a while or not. So the issue is, do we take that chance?
Say yes.
Through the chair, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Did he withdraw his application?
No.
So he's still an applicant?
Yeah. And I guess you're declaring ex parte communication?
I thought it's permissible to.
It is, you have to disclose it.
Yeah, it's still
All right.
violation.
It's not quasi judicial, so you're fine.
All right, so yes, I declare that I spoke with Paul LeBlanc and Walter.
It's not quasi judicial, you're fine.
So I'll make a motion to recommend Mr. LeBlanc and Mr. O'Con for the new board members that have vacated positions.
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Public comment?
Oh.
No.
Any action of the board requires public comment.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Do we have any public comment? Steve? Without speaker card.
I don't have the speaker card, so,
No, we don't have all that.
okay, so if there's no speaker card, there's no speaker. Just have to offer public comment.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Goodness. All right, yes. Thank you. Fine.
To that end, do we want to recommend that we have an alternate?
I would suggest that we do that at the next meeting, because we might have other reasons to talk about.
Just to follow on through the chair, if I may say, Walter O'Con said that if he were selected, he would like to be an at-large member.
Yes, yeah, I think that's up to the county commission to just make that motion. So, okay, then we are to discussion of Lana Beach listing in the National Register of Historic Places, requested for June 30th meeting. And there are, I don't know how to get this into the county staff work plan, but there are plenty of site file forms already generated. There have been copious studies already there, so that it's a discontiguous district geographically, but basically National Register format, a lot of it.
So,
We could request a progress report in October.
through the chair, my question to you is, so as far as how the code states for the procedures for landmark designation, applications may be initiated by the CRB, the Board of County Commission, county administrator, or the property owners. That process requires like identifying what that district, what's the geography of that district, and all these sorts of things. I'm not sure that directing staff is the right path.
Okay, first of all, we're not talking about a county landmark district.
We're talking about
We're
a
talking about a
national.
National Register of Historic Places district.
It's
If a staff person or any human being on the planet looks up Bulletin 16 or Bulletin 16A, it will explain how to determine boundaries.
right.
Okay.
But I'm asking, are you directing staff to do
So they're
this?
making the recommendation, it'll ultimately be a county decision.
I see, that's what I'm trying to get through, okay. Making sure.
If,
We didn't hear the motion, so we weren't sure what you were doing, that's all. We're just getting clarification.
Correct. Thank you.
I'm presuming that at some level, the county staff can take some kind of action. I mean,
It'll be the county administrator decision.
which means the rest of us will county use it. But,
Recess?
sure, thanks. Taking a recess. Back from recess.
Yeah.
We are back from recess. We have a recommendation. 18. Okay, we have a recommendation to move forward with National Register. Historic places. Nomination for Lawrence Beach. It's not necessarily following Main Street boundaries. So it's not that historic.
In the short.
There's a Sinclair Lewis house.
Okay, we're back in session.
What happened?
We're back in session. Do we have a motion on that to recommend that we move forward on this?
I recommend that we move forward on the Long Beach and our nomination.
I'll second.
Not necessarily including other areas besides the Main Street of Long Beach, if found to be. For example, the Rolling
Significant or
I believe there's
at
an
the same time. Okay,
Is
okay.
there an official right?
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes.
Through the chair, the member Newman. So speaking with Mr. Malik, I believe it, and you were probably here for this, we did do a survey at one point in time, so we could use that as an initiating point, that boundary.
Yes.
The county undertook a survey.
Sure, the boundaries from Duval south, so there may be some, but as an initiating point, yeah, that would work.
Right, and there may be some out, actually there are probably some out to the south side of the Main Street. There's a couple of houses in there.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'm gonna make some comments too. I was not envisioning this becoming a 300 property National Register.
Okay.
That helps.
So in other words, I wasn't thinking about it doing the Duval County line all the way down to A1A. I was focused on the whole Volcano Beach, North Beach geographic area. So the Sinclair Lewis house makes sense. Going all the way up to Pond Beach, I don't think does.
No, but in that survey that was conducted, what, 3 or 4 years ago?
2022.
22.
Yeah. It did go a little bit outside the.
Okay, so it's, well, because there are lots of surveys, so we're talking about the 2022.
Right,
All right, that helps.
yes.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I know you want to move this today, but does it help if we come back with information, at least the past work that's been done, to solidify maybe an area?
I think most of that was covered in the Magic Beach issue, quite honestly, because all the surveys and studies were referenced.
Okay.
So I think if we direct the staff to move forward that the recommendation is that we move forward and then get an update and progress at the October meeting and the December meeting.
Sure.
If I may, the chair, just to clarify, this is Mike Lagacy, just for the record and the thing. As far as the area that you're talking about and what we're moving forward, should we consider things like the boundaries of these, like Volano Beach districts that already exist, the CRAs or the downtown district, as a starting point, and then, do you see what I'm saying? Because I want to bring something back to you that's actionable for what you're looking for.
I think if you go through the Florida Master Site file numbers, that's going to give you a set
Okay.
properties to start with.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
The CRA in the Volano Beach Main Street, part of the reason it's now a discontinuous district is because you have infill construction that is incompatible, otherwise known as the Hyatt and the
Right.
Publix and
Sure.
all that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll take a good look and do our best to dial it into what
Yeah,
we believe you
something
might be
that's
looking for.
manageable and can move forward
Okay.
pretty quickly. The state only looks once or twice a year at reviewing nominations at a public process, and you've got time to get it to the point where it's.
It's a June or December kind of a thing, like the ARC sort of stuff. I'm not sure. Okay, no worries.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I haven't figured out the pattern.
Right.
Constellation or hurricane season or something.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor of that, right? Or the other, yeah. Chris made a motion, seconded by Susan, to move forward with National Historic Places nomination for Volano Beach Historic District, using the Crrb 2020 survey as the basis.
No,
2022.
2022 survey.
Well,
All right, all in favor?
aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Discussion, probably a request. The public was present each time pledged to do this. I'm hoping that can be honored. Is to address the town of Hastings records and the survey of A1A North. The next application cycle will probably open in April, run through June. Let's all say positive things that we don't have an extended session again. But anyway, the request is that those be resubmitted.
Are you, Chair, may I ask a question? Are you suggesting alterations to the ones that were submitted previously? That's the town of Hastings that we're talking.
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to get
Because
that
they may
clear.
not be valid anymore, you have to have letters to support, all of that is required to be updated.
Sure.
So, yes. And the process opens for a period of about 6 weeks. So there's plenty of time to circulate drafts, get comments back, which we all do when we're writing them too. So they're as strong as they possibly can be so that they will rank. It's like golf, they need to rank low. Because this year, $1.5 million worth of those small matching grants did get funded, but neither of the county's projects, right, to do that. So there's federal pass-through money and probably won't be again, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, do we have conversation, motion? on
did
this?
we get comments from last year?
We did.
We did? So those will be taken to, okay, good.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you to send us the comments.
I think it was more, this is Ryan from staff, it was more generic, so it was from the federal people that were in the meeting on the panel for review of the applications. They provided some general
Yeah.
guidance. You were probably at
Well,
that.
I mean, but there are written comments that they sent you.
Yeah, I think it was like handwritten comments, so we can try to find those again.
Well, it's public record, they'll send them to you.
Yeah.
Again, that's, as a matter of course, everybody goes ahead and finds out what you did well and what you need to do better. So yeah, just.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I move that we ask staff to resubmit the two grants for Hastings and Milano Beach to the state.
Let's, yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
remains this out.
Okay, yeah,
Survey,
that's right, was everybody.
Goes to survey.
because the group that came in was actually from down from Crescent Beach.
Right.
Do we have a second
I'll
to that?
second it.
Okay, second, by Nick. Any more questions on any of that?
Public comment?
We don't. Comment?
Well, later.
Didn't know it was on the agenda, so.
There's nothing different.
Public comment? Okay. All in favor? Unanimous. And I just, as a courtesy, I would request that you guys send us the comments that you got, we can see.
DHR.
A bunch of us that have written a whole bunch of those grants.
Panel.
Yeah.
And there was scoring, ranking them.
Yeah, send us the CRRB comment on the last review.
Could I make a comment, because I thought Sally was, are you gonna use the master site file for the coverage of the addresses for the proposed district? Yes,
For the Milano Beach historic?
Yes.
Yes,
yeah, the master site file for the state.
yes. Which is how they'll help to determine the boundaries. Okay. Okay, we have email requests to Megan, to me at least. I forwarded to you, maybe this one was 825 South Orange Street in Collier Heights. Part of this, I think, is coming out, quite honestly, of the CRA that is moving forward with West Augustine, the Black Heritage Trail, the Florida Black History Museum. So there have been meetings out in the communities, and still we're probably going to get more interest in really studying those areas and recognizing buildings. And again, it was association with Carrie White, C-A-R-Y, White. Born in 1900, died in 1983, the first Black deaf graduate of the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, and he was inducted into the FSDP Hall of Fame in 2023. So you can pull up a long biographical article about him on that if you have an interest in that. And the request was made by his nephew. But,
And through the chair, this is Megan Wright with Growth Management. I did send the applicant the official application, so everything has been sent to the party of interest, and I'm just waiting for correspondence from them.
Okay, if you don't get an application from them, can you initiate it otherwise?
It's a great question.
This is an application for a significant cultural resource.
No, for county landmark.
For county landmarking.
The applicants can be the county administrator, CRB, or there's another, but it's county administrator, board of county commissioners, CRB, or the property owners themselves. So are we speaking to the property owners or just folks who know of the property?
Speaking to the property owner.
Yes, so they can,
Well, the nephew is not the owner.
He did send it to the property owner.
Okay.
right. That would be maybe the best way to show that support, but yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, then I would suggest that we should have a motion to request an update in October. So if he doesn't get back, I don't know, he may be a college kid and never checks that email, I have no idea.
Sure.
But
Through the chair, so we sent it on the same email they sent to us, right?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
We replied to the email that they sent us with the information they needed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it probably is a working email address. And also, even if it's going to be initiated by CRB, we still like the property owners' support, as you're aware of. Landmarking against the property owners is something that will take a little bit more effort. So the update is fine.
so could we get a motion and a second on an update at the October meeting?
So moved.
Okay, Susan moved. Second? Chris? request update to receive update on staff at October meeting. And then,
You have to take the
call the
vote,
question.
public comment.
Any public comment on that?
Okay.
Okay. Public comment. All right, call the question. All in favor, say aye. All in favor? All opposed?
Okay.
Okay. All right, unanimous. And then we have a request for historical significance for the Hughes Cemetery. This already has a site file. This is kind of, it was stopped at the PZAB, whichever it is, because the neighborhood support was so strong. But part of what I think came up was, has there been any intensive level survey archaeologically of that site? And is there a way that maybe FCAN or somebody could do that? The earliest graves, I did go to as my historical society trip, and so I have a plan of the cemetery and the bodies that are there and all that. But yeah, some of them date back to 1871. So Fort Peyton is a Seminole Indian Wars site that is next to it and has markers, but notoriously you have graves that aren't marked at times on markers.
Through the chair, I feel like I'm missing a piece. So what was stopped at the PZA, the cemetery?
No, there was a 150-foot
Okay.
cell tower
Gotcha. Thank you.
on top of the cemetery.
Also, through the chair, if I may, I was the staff that reviewed this tower. So for the tower specifically, which is at the northwest corner of the property where the cemetery sits, there was a survey for a Phase 1 Cultural Resource Assessment survey that is on file, as well as a NEPA survey that FCC requires a federal guidance and review of that tower site. And so they requested that as well, and that was done through an archaeologist. I can provide that just for some supplemental background information. We also had a concern of potential for unmarked graves on such an old cemetery site. So they had some ground penetrating survey equipment that basically confirmed that there were no unmarked graves, at least near the proposed tower site, the footprint of the tower site. But nothing intensively done on the cemetery itself. So,
But there was GPR done.
yes,
Okay. That was fairly reasonable.
yes,
It
yeah.
was with the application.
That was with the tower application.
this year.
Yeah.
Not being a cell tower expert, how does one levitate a 150-foot cell tower onto a piece of property without disturbing the area around where they're placing it?
Engineering.
I mean, that's part of the site plan, so it's not just the footprint. The site plan is the area. around
Yeah,
it as
the
well.
tower site itself was just a small footprint, a square up in the northwest corner of the property, where the main cemetery is located is more centrally located.
But how do you keep construction vehicles from not encroaching into the cemetery while they're installed?
So to answer that question, there is a review process for construction plans, engineered construction plans, and there will be a limits of disturbance and silt fencing around that area to control erosion and sedimentation control. As far as, going outside of that area with heavy equipment, we try to, keep everybody within that footprint of the area.
Okay.
So that would be something,
Moved, disturbed graves.
Yeah.
Multiple times in multiple cities.
Question for staff. Do we know if any of these marked graves belong to Miccosukee or Seminole Tentacoli Indians?
that wasn't confirmed in the NEPA process. They had to reach out, they being the applicant, reached out through the archaeologist on staff to the tribal I think there are probably 5 or 6 different tribes that they reach out to, Miccosukee being one of them, and there was not a response back for this particular area from those tribes.
From all 6 that were detected. You never
Correct.
contacted Seminoles?
Yes, Seminoles,
Okay. That would be the one that would normally respond.
there's a list in the NEPA documents of the tribes that they contacted.
Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't having parts flying around.
Cell towers is usually pretty good, but that's still, yeah.
But you're still bringing them heavy equipment, right?
Right. A lot of times they'll test that section
Corridor,
that they
yeah.
do heavy equipment.
Yeah.
Because it's a
Yeah.
federal and state process and local
Right.
government process, a lot of it is covered under the review.
Right, but that's not to say there isn't something right outside, because there are 5 sites in the area,
Yeah.
both prehistoric and historic. Yeah.
All right.
I have a question. You usually get a diagram with extent of construction activity,
Extent of construction activity for the tower?
Mhm.
Yes.
not disturbance, construction activity. If you're gonna bring in a crane, if you're gonna bring in something. In other words, we don't want any of that equipment to be over the cemetery areas, but
That would be clear, yeah, that would
Yeah.
make that clear.
Okay. All right.
Right.
How would that be enforced?
As far as the construction ingress and egress, that's through our inspectors. We have a team of development review inspectors that go out to the site, and we have areas where equipment's going to come in and come out of the site.
Do they have to fence it off or anything?
Yeah, silt fencing around the construction site.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
I can't bring it up, but I do have the location.
yeah, sure.
This is the site, this is the cemetery down here. This is the membership.
And just certainly, especially with the cemetery dating back, some graves to 1871, there are probably some unmarked graves out there.
Yeah, we shared that concern.
Yeah.
So may I further ask, who owns the cemetery?
I would assume it's the Hughes family.
And so they granted permission?
Yeah, I'd have to double check
We
the
can have an answer
application.
in a second.
I was gonna say, well, I wondered if it was abandoned or, but
It's,
they said the owner was the applicant.
Yeah, the address on the top of your head.
I do not. Fort Peyton is the road it's adjacent to.
We've had instances where people have taken headstones out so that they have what appears to be vacant.
No, I just happened to put. So through the chair, just to update you, so as I'm looking up this address, that went before the PZA on July 17th, 2025. That was a special use permit, and it was denied. So for special uses, they go before the PZA, and they are the final authority. So in order to have anything, as opposed to PZA sometimes make recommendations, like you make recommendations, and then it goes to the Board of County Commissioners. Some things they have final approval authority on. So that is a final decision by the PZA, so then that would need an appeal to the BOCC. And so that was July 17th, and to date, they haven't filed an appeal yet, but just to give you where it is. Well, we can bring back an update to you in October.
Sure.
It seems like a long time away, doesn't it?
Timberlane Investment.
Is this?
Yes, yes.
In October, and let you know, and we'll send an email if there's any appeal or anything like that, just so it can be on your radar. I'm looking for property right now, I got sidetracked. Hang on.
Timberlane is the.
Yep, right.
Is
So
Timberlane
it's
Fort
Hughes Cemetery Inc. There's a company called Hughes Cemetery Inc. I can look that up on Sunbiz to see who the principals are.
Timber Lane and Fort Peyton Road.
Okay.
it may have started out as a family cemetery and a house got torn down and the family moved, but there's obviously a process for declaring one an abandoned cemetery. So I don't know, there may be new graves. I have no idea.
Edwin Stevens,
I haven't been out
Michael Carr.
either.
So, Mr. Stevens and Mr. Carr are principals of that organization that's been in existence for a very long time. So it's owned by a corporation.
Okay.
I can do further research into the cemetery. It's a separate parcel from the cemetery, isn't it? I think, Brian?
I think it's all one large parcel.
I mean, that huge pasture
Yeah, big open area.
Yeah.
And there's the cemeteries in the center of it.
in the center. Okay.
But we can certainly update you if that moves further into an appellate process.
Is there a time frame that they have to appeal?
30 days. That's fine. I can't give you a sense. We're sitting here today.
But today's August 11th, so they don't have too many more days.
Correct.
Okay. Unless somebody else has something that I missed, board member reports. I think that one. Just making sure that everybody knows the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation that have been in place for 40 years, are being modified and are expected to be released, and they will deal with resiliency issues and substitute materials. So that's information. Florida Black History Museum did get $1 million to the one that's planned here. There were other two appropriations that were proposed for two other locations, and those got vetoed. And then I think, well, if anybody wants, the Estevana is the new magazine. We have a digital link to that. So you can learn about Estevana. America 250, we did 3 proclamations. And preservation on Main Street. For the first time in 43 years, we had 0 funding for special category grants. If you have not seen the news stories, there are plenty of them out there. Therefore, Trinity Episcopal Church and Ancient City Baptist in downtown St. Augustine still have leaking roofs. And the 2 Hastings train buildings, we're going to have to seek alternate funding options. I'm doing some Florida Trust meetings and try to get to the delegation before they start again. So that was just in case you were not poised during the end of session. Literally, the money was in there until Friday afternoon, the deadline of the session, and it went to 0. So,
That's why
Yeah.
nobody can complain.
my little hurricane damaged churches are not real happy about that. So, Resilient First Coast Collaborative is Northeast Florida, all of the counties around here, and they're getting ready to submit a plan. This is part of the way you move forward with the next steps on coordinating resilient efforts. The token preservationist on there, most everybody else is engineers. We've got jail detention center, we've already discussed.
Through the chair, if you can go back to the Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals, I
Oh,
can give you
sorry.
an update on that, because I had a meeting with staff.
Okay.
So at first they had trouble serving the order from the CBAA, and the order was served from the registered agent or the attorney. So we have, he's acknowledged receipt. We've been shown an invoice for the fencing and the boarding, and so we anticipate that will be completed, and that will resolve the Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals issue. That's just a safety issue, so they only speak to the property is open to public nuisance and trespass, and so that just deals with that issue. So he's gonna fence the perimeter, temporary fencing, and then have to board up. The next issue is the violation of the landmark status, which is not something under the CBAA, which will then shift into our special magistrate enforcement, code enforcement proceedings.
Which properties?
It's latest, it was Benedetto's restaurant, but historically it is Barrancado's, was county landmark.
And as we understand, there are permits in hand regarding the, last I heard, that they have permits to move forward with the renovation, rehabilitation, whatever. We can talk offline about that if you want.
I just called and asked and was told they hadn't yet applied for a permit. That was today. I mean,
Maybe it's their clearance sheet and they don't have the construction level.
They have commercial construction plans approved. This was last year.
Yeah, they do have
Yeah.
commercial construction plans approved, so yeah.
That's wild. I did call them. I called the building department and they said, no, they were still waiting on him to apply.
We can talk.
So you guys,
It's
Yeah.
probably the building permit hasn't been submitted, but
Right.
the horizontal construction
The
plans.
horizontal, yeah, but not the vertical, so yeah.
Yeah.
So they do, so they can proceed, and they're suited to go in and get that, so that's where we're going.
okay. Well, and just wearing a different hat, since I prepared their landmark, I met with the property appraiser to make sure that the ad valorem tax exemption was still staying pending.
Yeah, they'll need something from us
Well,
to do that.
normally it's a 1-year time frame, so I just wanted to make sure he did.
So if
If there was somebody brewing that was still interested in it.
it is, and
Yeah.
there's been times, not perhaps while I've been here, but other times, there's some leniency in that, and that you can reapply and renew that if there was a delay in construction, so that's not gonna hurt.
Yeah, just,
The goal is to have the work done and everything like that, so we've actually done them after the fact, and then we've also done them, you know, if we had to switch a property in or something like that, we've done it. After the fact is permissible under our code.
the state frowns on that. Now, at least part 1 and part 2 before you. In other words, you have to document the history and say what you're going to do, even if you didn't get to do it.
Right, but the code allows for that, both under the state and our guidelines.
So as far as we know, everything's still going through.
Right, we don't know what the delay was, they didn't come to the CBAA, so the order was rendered, and so
And August 15th is the next deadline.
that's the next hearing date, so they asked him to come back, we always ask him to come back to determine compliance, and so whether, you know, if they're in compliance, again, that was just for the fencing and the boarding.
Right.
That's all that board has what's in its purview, and so if they have completed those tasks, they'll be released and found in compliance with regard to that. But again, the fact that, you know, it's not been kept weather tight and some other matters through staff and code enforcement officers, that's a separate matter.
Was this a demolition?
Okay. Anyway, just a happy thing, St. Benedict de Moors received a State Preservation Award. If you have not been, go by, visit them, it's an amazing project. Anybody tells you you can't say something, you just held up those little fans that won't happen. And the lighthouse anniversary. Anybody didn't see that? It's part of my community service. It's History in the Shadow of the Tower, 200 plus people. 45. And the only other thing, my neighbor saved paper for me to look at. Marine land. Yes, some of us have been here saving it at least twice, you know, triggered. But the 1986 National Register listed marine land has all been demolished. So that was done years ago. So there is no historic anything there left. But, well,
Another time.
yeah. Kneecaps. And Mrs. Whitney's even dead now, so yeah, nothing to type. I think that's all I had. Just, yeah.
I don't have anything, but it's part-time. I guess should mention that.
So that's, so let me,
Yeah.
through the chair to Member Newman, so that's only for quasi judicial matters. You'd have to disclose those, because that just gives the applicant the opportunity to know that you spoke with them, you spoke with somebody else in case the public, subject you to cross-examination. But you don't have to, for matters that are not quasi judicial, which is outside of a public hearing, you don't have to have ex parte communication disclosed.
Can you, this took me a minute to, can you talk a difference between a public hearing and what this meeting is?
It's just a public meeting. So for public meetings, you don't have. So this would be something, a public hearing would be something that we would notice in the newspaper, post the property. Those are public hearing proceedings. Those are quasi judicial, where you're sitting as the role of making, certain recommendations. Public meetings, you don't have to have disclosure, but you can certainly share whatever you want.
Well, I wrote them down.
You can certainly share.
I'm really afraid now.
Don't be, there's no wrong, you don't have to do it. I'm just telling you when you're required to do it.
Okay.
That's all. You can certainly share whatever you like.
Okay. I spoke to Trey Asner a couple of weeks ago. I also received some correspondence from him, as I think we all did. Also from Rabbi Shapiro, related to the issue we discussed today. I think all of us might have, not real sure. I talked to a couple of neighbors about the vote last week, okay? Or a couple of weeks ago, last meeting. And I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. John Hopper?
Nothing? Nothing? Thank you.
Sorry. From Ms. Schulter.
No questions?
All quiet on the Western Front. Staff reports.
Unless my supervisors have anything to report, I think all the bases were covered.
Ms. O'Hara.
Could I be recognized for a matter of clarification? We talked about the Magic Beach and we expressed some concerns. As it relates to the CRMP, this board reviewed that information in June. The demolition permit has been issued. What is the process, clarify for me, on oversight of the elements of the activities as we proceed forward? What documentation protocols are there in place? And so that I just am totally puzzled about how we preserve what we need to preserve and enforce.
So, through the chair, Mike Lagacy again. Based on the legislation, there's not a requirement that they preserve much or any. But we have spoken with with Mr. Johnston, I guess owner or developer. I'm not sure what his role is exactly.
Speculator.
So, and we asked him to, as he spoke at the board, his attorney mentioned that they would preserve some elements of that CRMP as they go forward. So we reached out to Mr. Johnson and said, if you don't mind, because of this type of a question, if you would, when you have a plan and if you could let us know, then we will let you know when we know. So the idea here is when you have an idea of exactly what it is you're going to do, I think they mentioned like the flamingos and things during the meeting, just as part of their just mention at the lectern. So we said, hey, if you could let us know, then when we have these calls and we can report back to CRB, here's what the plan is. But we don't have an oversight of what they do going forward. We have the voluntary cooperation to do something. Does that make sense?
So he could go in the middle of the night and take the bulldozer and wipe out the place.
He had a
If that was-
demolition permit.
Right.
That's what I thought.
He is not the owner.
Okay.
There are LLCs that own it.
Right.
But he's a developer from Jack's Beach. Yes.
But he's not the owner.
No, he's not the owner of record.
All of
He has
that
not
came
purchased.
out in the first of the hearings. No, he.
I remember that as I said
He
it.
has permission as the contractor for him next door. Tedal Patel is under an LLC. Gave permission.
But if he were to buy it tomorrow,
He doesn't have to buy it tomorrow. It can still be demolished.
it can still be demolished.
Because the demolition permit is under Falsinelli.
Dr. Patel's name.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you were saying.
Many of our permits, many of our
Okay.
applications, they come in with agents and things like that nature, so they do. So, Ms. O'Hara, all I can tell you is that not only did the statute that changed, the legislation that changed, for this, again, clarifying that it's for this type of structure, it's, seaward of the coastal construction line, but also there's an explicit express preemption written into the code as well, that we can enforce matters. So like the our land development code, there was a willingness for them to come in with the plan and work on the plan. The intention is they're going to still, some of that plan, implement it. They have to come back. They will have to come back to the overlay, so it doesn't go as far. So it also, that code affects redevelopment as well, the limitations on redevelopment. However, we've determined that it would still go before the overlay board, so there's still some oversight coming in that regard as well.
Yeah, but after the building's gone, it's gone.
Understood. I think there was an interest in the sign. I know there were some conversations at that, and
Question for our attorney. What is the legal status of promises made by Mr. Johnston at not the June, but the prior meeting,
April 14th.
April 14 meeting, where he said that he would preserve the flamingos as insets and the sign? I heard the word voluntary cooperation, but if he made a promise in a public hearing, does that have more, is that more of a requirement for him?
through the chair to member Sheldrake. No, so we don't have an ability to enforce that plan. Again, I think the attorney representing developer owners, whatever, came out and spoke, indicating their willingness to do that.
How about promissory estoppel?
That's a good question. Technically, the public doesn't get to participate in this.
Well, through the chair, who's the chair, please ask, what about promissory estoppel?
The promise made is not enforceable.
Even if it's through a government agency or a government meeting?
Well, that meeting, that hearing was continued, so there was no action taken, and then at the following meeting, the plan was denied.
And keep in mind, nobody is sworn that they're giving testimony.
Right.
Lawyers are really close. Jim Carrey.
So, may I ask,
Always like something.
why did we go through the exercise of getting a CMRB?
I think there was a willingness on the applicant and developer side to try to preserve what they could. At that point in time, once the legislation kicked in during this process, it really became voluntary on their part. And I think there was a willingness on them to try to come through with a plan. They did the HAPs, and so the HAPs will be there, and they're working on the plan. I know they did the short form, and I was happy about that. It was permissible to do the short form, so.
That have not been a standard, have been used in the past, just because,
It's permissible under the code.
and the code's been changed. Do we have anything else?
You got a question?
Oh. Do we have anything else from the board members for our reports? Okay. We have a question that needs to be addressed at this board.
I just wanted to ask, are our land development codes overridden by this state legislation? Because the land development code says, right in there, that county decides what architectural elements are to be saved.
Sure, so the Florida statute has language that says that a local government may not adopt or enforce a law that in any way limits the demolition of a structure identified in the paragraph. So yeah, a preemption means that the state supersedes the county. We will be updating our code to reflect that with regard to this change.
Note that, just as information, the city of St. Augustine lobbied heavily not to have this law passed.
Yeah.
And that did get a carve out this past year for historic properties there. There is extreme interest throughout the state in trying to revise it again this year, especially to deal with the date on National Register listing to remove the year 2000 as part of that.
And this actually was introduced during the 2023 legislative session, but a heavy showing from Miami and the Art Deco Historic District down there got it pushed back. And then when 2024, that's when the language with regard to coastal construction, there were some caveats carved out, and I think it will continue to get some carve-outs going moving forward.
Yeah, the Art Deco District is actually what started this
Mm-hmm.
whole thing, because there was a proposal to tear down some of the Art Deco buildings for high-rise condos.
Correct.
Okay. Unless there's more business, I think we adjourn. Accept a motion.
Sorry, one more comment. I understood that the coastal construction line was actually moved. Or that you can appeal to DEP to move it.
Yeah, probably we can do that after the meeting.
And in fact,
This conversation.
the developer on his current property is building east of the coastal construction.
He's meeting the new requirements. Yeah. He's building the building up. So there are new construction requirements that are part of that same law.
Yeah.
Okay, a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Okay, Vivian. Second? Okay, all in favor of adjournment? Say aye.
I hope the lawsuit. I hope the lawsuit.